up again, Minister Joshua Holmes.
Thanks, Stephanie. Um, yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you for the last few hours that we've been together over the course of 2 weeks. Just sharing, honestly, sharing your heart and having this chance to grow closer with one another. I've been with Reverend Kamal and Reverend Yuji every breakout. I feel closer in heart to them, and I'm amazed by their wisdom and how much they understand the essence of what Jesus came to bring and God's truth, God's principle. So yeah, this is going to be the final talk or whatnot. This is going to be quite short. I just wanted to give a summarization of all these different pieces that leads into the point that Minister Stephanie was mentioning of how do we actually build the kingdom? What's our responsibility now? What is God calling on each and every one of us to do right now? What's the pressing issue? And I know we started with the ideal. We started here describing God, what God's intention was from the very beginning, and creating man and woman in his image and all the dreams that he wanted to create. And then we went and we saw what happened instead, and we addressed the crisis that we're facing. And the way that we described that was, of course, through the fall of man, but then we look specifically at our reality, the crisis that we're facing today. And I want to remind us, we are the Young Christian Leadership Conference. We have a mission to bring God back home to our young people in our world today. And that's something that I know is on the hearts of each and every one of you that are here. And maybe you don't have a specific ministry that's focused on young people, but I think it's the collective body of the family of God, in that it takes parents, it takes uncles, it takes aunts, it takes brothers and sisters, it takes children to create and manifest what we're trying to do. But our reality is what it is. We have a incredibly corrupted love and so much pain and evil in our world today that touches home to us very, very directly and personally. And we have dozens of young people leaving churches by every single day. And when we hear recent news about certain key Christian believers and apologists, and it starts to break down what we are striving for, that ideal, and we start to lose sight. And so what we break it down to is that love is an issue of relationship. Love means relationship. It's what God intended, that we would then join together as husband and wife, that we would not just be individuals, but we're helpers to one another. We're only truly good when we're together, and that's us as humanity. And so purity and fidelity in our relationships becomes incredibly key. It's the relationship that allows love to exist, and it's our choice whether we make it sacred or we corrupt it further. So relationships is how we build God's kingdom. And that's why Father and Mother Moon, I feel strongly, were called at this time. Both of them were called at young ages, at the age of 16. Jesus came to Father Moon while he was in a state of deep prayer. And many of you know this story, and I've already described it, but a lot of people question Father Moon, and they ask, why does he keep going despite all of the persecution? Well, he makes it very simple. He says, Jesus called me. If you read his autobiography, he was a struggle, like how many times many of us here have been called by God. It's not easy, or called by Jesus. And he had a moment of intense love with Jesus. And he made himself a total object before Jesus and said, okay, well, what would you have me do? And Jesus tells him, well, you need to build a family. You need to raise a family. And then in raising that family, you need to raise generations of people who can build God-centered families. Jesus asked him to mature himself, find an only begotten daughter, the only begotten daughter, someone who loves God and comes from generations of believers who love God. So that's what they did. They responded to the call from Jesus. And so they started to hold blessing ceremonies, which is an anointed experience where we recommit ourselves with God at the center in marriage with one another as couples. And as us as single individuals, or those who are single on this call, it's committing yourself to receive the blessing in the future. That we want to build families where we take that personal spiritual salvation and we manifest it in the family. We manifest it in the couple and in our relationships. And the other day I was telling someone, well, why do I do what I do? Why am I in the position I'm in the position for with YCLC? Everything I do has to be because I believe in the blessing. I believe in the blessing of marriages. And I believe America is called. America is chosen. So we started with that question. How have you felt chosen? When do you feel that you responded to that call from God? Well, I feel strongly that America's entire existence, its purpose, why it exists and flourishes in the way that it had, is that America is uniquely chosen because it's meant to be a blessing to the world. And Father and Mother Moon invested more time than anywhere else than in America. America was the place where they focused on, and they started to do these Blessing America campaigns, where they would go into churches or they'd go out onto the street and bring Americans into the blessing of marriage. That's not just a happenstance. It didn't just happen that America has that chosen identity. It was founded on Christianity. The Pilgrim Fathers came and established themselves in America on the foundation of wanting to seek religious freedom. And were they perfect? No, we know there's history there. We know there's painful history. But nonetheless, America has always been a place where Christianity was at the center. So we need to revive the institution of Christianity, which Reverend Kamal was describing to me as the institution of marriage. It's the institution of marriage. So marriage is so critical, and the blessing is so critical in this time. That's why they did blessing ceremonies for the past 4 years in different churches or different venues to reach thousands of people. That was their mission, and they've continued that mission till today. This picture comes from the City of Refuge in Los Angeles with Bishop Noah Jones, just an example. And so we bring these couples. I showed these photos last week, but I just want to show them again because they're so beautiful. We bring these couples into God-centered marriage with one another. It's not about just us. It's not about just one another. It's about being a blessing to the world. And they make that commitment, and we find ourselves at a point where God can then build his family. That's our hope. That's what we're fighting for. This is why I fight. Because it's not about me and Takayo, it's about every single individual, the 7.8 or 9 billion people in this world. God is not satisfied until we can reach each and every one. So that's why we have these 3 devotions. We make a commitment to the 3 devotions to live as Jesus lived. And then we receive the blessing of marriage, and we begin to build these true families in this world centered on God and for God, that Hyojung heart of for God and then loving the world. Because then we extend that blessing. We then bring ourselves, our families as a couple, we then bring ourselves to the world, and we bring hope to this world. That's our commission. That's what we have been called to do. In this day, right now, today, every individual on this call, this is our commission. And this is how we bring our young people back home to God. A movement of individuals committed to the blessing and to the devotion. So that's that. That's the summarization. That's what we're doing here with YCLC. That's our mission right here, right there. This is our mission. And we're excited about it. And we're excited about all of our projects that we have coming up. And we're going to introduce one specific one to you right after this discussion. But in the meantime, we felt it'd be good just to recap everything. What is your key takeaway from this seminar What are you walking away with? What's your inspiration? What moved you? And of these three devotions, relationship with God as your heavenly parent, purity and fidelity in my marriage and family, and then being selfless and going out to the nation and the world, being a blessing to the world. Of those three devotions, which one do you see yourself needing to grow in? And I challenge us to engage this, engage where we need to grow. So yeah, we can go into our breakouts. Thank you.